Welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Come on to the theatre.
Hello, and welcome back to episode 36 of the Manx Theatre Podcast with me, Neil Callin. Thank you to everyone who's listened to our previous episodes. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome along, and thanks for joining us. In this podcast, we like to try and keep up to date with what's going on in theatre on the Isle of Man, and to chat to the cast and creatives of upcoming shows to find out a little bit more about the shows and the people behind them, and what the Manx-born bred performers are doing further afield.
Coming up on this week's podcast.
I'm joined by three members of the cast of Three Legs Productions' upcoming production of Once, which is playing at the Gaiety Theatre from the 31st of August to the 3rd of September. You can still listen to all of our previous episodes through all the usual podcast outlets and at manxradio.com/podcasts. Whilst you're there, make sure to give us a like and subscribe, follow whatever it is you need to do to make sure that you never miss an episode. In the last episode, I mentioned that Ben Karen, who's currently performing in Heathers the musical at the Other Place Theatre off London's West End, was now performing as first cover for the lead role of Jason J.D. Dean. Well, no less than 2 days after the episode had dropped, then Ben announced that he'd be taking over the role of J.D. full-time. So that's another Manxie in the West End lead role. Well done, Ben. Speaking of Manxies doing well, following the enormous popularity of Heartstopper on Netflix, Joe Locke, along with his castmate William Gow, will both be appearing as part of the cast of new play The Trials by Dawn King. Set in the near future, the play revolves around a trial where children jurors judge the older generation's contributions to the climate crisis. The Trials runs at the Donmar Warehouse from the 12th to the 27th of August. Former member of Manx Ops and the DCU, John Young, is also making some waves as he joins National Theatre as staff director on their production of new play Kerry Jackson. The play sees Faye Ripley of Cold Feet fame in the title role as the owner of El Baru, the newest tapas restaurant in a fashionable Walthamstow village. Wearing her working class roots as a badge of honour, Kerry navigates the local characters in a bid to make her business a success without losing herself in the process. Another former DCU member and now professional performer and choreographer, Matt Overfield, will be going into the brand new UK production of Mrs. Doubtfire. It starts in Manchester for a month in September for a trial run before moving into the West End next year. Elsewhere in the West End, there are changes afoot, with several shows announcing cast changes towards the end of August. Unfortunately for me, that sees Ollie Dobson leaving the role of Marty McFly in Back to the Future the Musical, just 7 days before I get to see it. There have also been a few announcements about shows closing. Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cinderella closed recently with a fairly short notice, with some cast members unfortunately only finding out through social media. However, it has been announced that Dear Evan Hansen will be coming to an end on both Broadway and in the West End later this year, and Come From Away will be closing in the West End in January next year. Make sure you keep up to date with what's going on between episodes by following Manx Theatre Podcast on both Facebook and Instagram, and at Manx Theatre Pod on Twitter. Okay, down to business. I'm joined on the podcast today by Grainne Joughin, Chloe Woolley and Laura Corkhill from the cast of Once. Grainne, Chloe and Laura, welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Thank you very much. Am I?
Ladies, welcome along. So, you're here today to talk to us about Once, the musical. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of the story of Once for those who don't know anything about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of classic guy meets girl in a way, in one part, a love story where two people meet who have never met before and kind of immediately really form a bond, don't they? And it's not just with each other, it's their mutual kind of love for music. But unlike quite a lot of musicals, it's not kind of your classic love story in that, well, I don't want to give away too much, but it's not really the kind of happily ever after, let's just say.
Ooh.
But it's also a coming together of culture as well. You know, it's very much about the music in this show, and if anybody knows anything about Once, the actors on stage are also the musicians. You know, there's no pit orchestra in this show. All of the actors are on stage acting, singing, dancing and playing.
Brilliant.
So the challenge is right there in front of us, and we've fully embraced that, I think.
Indeed, yeah.
So every member of the cast then is playing their own instruments.
Every single member.
There's no hiding.
No hiding.
No. And
Brilliant.
it's not necessarily instruments we can actually play. Before we started this journey.
So
yeah.
the challenge, it has been a massive journey for us even up until this point, in that I guess it's hard to cast, you know, a character who is right for the part, but then who can also play that certain instrument, who, you know, has the right connection with the other characters. So it's been a juggle, to say the least. What do you reckon, Laura?
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, we've all had to kind of shuffle ourselves into new instruments, or like play the instruments that we're used to playing and shuffle ourselves into roles and accents that we've never done before. And it's definitely been a learning curve, I think.
Yeah, because it's set in Dublin, isn't it? But
yes.
It's set in Dublin. Girl is Czech.
Right.
Yeah, she's immigrated, and she's a Czech girl. So that's been a journey for us, you know, learning the Czech accent and the culture as well. The music, some of the pieces are, you know, kind of that kind of classic.
And the language.
The language as well, yeah.
Right.
So it's been,
So was there some of the Czech language in it as well?
a little,
Yeah,
yeah.
and some of the songs, and there's phrases in there, aren't there, that we've had to get our teeth around.
Lots of C's and Z's and things, and
For sure.
yes.
But then there's the Irish accents as well.
Yeah.
And it's not just Dublin, there's Cork.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really hard.
I suppose when you're next to someone who's like in a good thick Irish accent, then to try and get your own Czech accent, and go, what's my accent?
I can't tell you how hard that is to not then take on their accent as well. You're trying to concentrate on your own, and they're like, God damn it.
Well, if you were to cast your mind back many years ago when we did Laughter on the 23rd Floor, and Jim played the character Brian, who was Irish.
Yeah.
And he had this really thick Irish accent, and we're all there trying to do our New York Jewish accents. And then he'd speak, and we'd be going, well, now, oh, hang on. No,
It's
I've
so
just followed him
hard
into his
not
Irish.
to imitate the person that
Yeah.
you're with, and to kind of hold your own in that respect.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
We are.
So you're acting opposite Lorcan in the lead role, is that
I
right?
am indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, very lucky to be playing opposite Lorcan.
He's great, isn't he? He's a very giving performer.
Oh, he's just fabulous. He just exudes energy, and he's so dedicated, and he's so committed and so fabulous at what he does as well. I mean, I know everybody who's listening to this has probably seen him on stage at one point or another, and it's just, I feel really lucky and really blessed to have kind of been given this opportunity to work with him.
Fantastic. Chloe, about yourself? Which instruments have you been getting out of the dusty drawer?
Well, this has gotten a brand new instrument for me. I actually play the fiddle, and I think I auditioned on the fiddle and told the team that I could play piano, and they said, "Well, how about could you learn the accordion?" So I was
Just
like,
like a piano, you just have to
I'll
squeeze
give it a go. Why not? So I borrowed
Just a portable piano. Stop
On its side.
whinging.
Yes. So yes, I've learnt the basics of how to play a small piano accordion.
Brilliant.
And luckily Grainne's husband is a professional accordion player.
Yes.
So he's given me lots of tips. I'm a bit embarrassed about it, letting him hear me, but he's been very kind with his time. So I've bought myself an accordion now, so I think I might keep it going. Yeah, why not?
Absolutely.
I suppose when you get people that are multi-instrumentalists, multi-instrumentalists,
That's the one.
I think that's the word. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. People that play lots of instruments. That's probably the safest one, isn't it? Then they tend to sort of be able to pick up other instruments quite easily. Is that
Yeah,
true?
but then they make you dance and sing and act at the same time. So
Totally unfair.
see how you feel.
So I can't play a thing, so I'd be lost.
Well, we've got Steve Dakin and David Culgallon are our MDs.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
That really does help, doesn't it?
It does, and you know what? There's such a great coming together of two quite different styles, and so you've got this kind of whole trad Czech style, which obviously Dave Culgallon is like a total ambassador for traditional music over here.
Yes.
And then you've got the fabulousness of Steve, who's just so experienced, a total wealth of kind of like helping you to get it right. That I think that's been like a really kind of good relationship.
Perfect. Now, going back a few years, I mean, I've known you, Grainne, for quite a long time, and we go
What are you gonna
all the way
say?
back to the Peel Pantaloons. So, I mean, for you, I mean, you've it's probably been a while since you've been on stage, and you were involved with the Peel Pantaloons and then the Manx Operatic Society for a few years, but it's been a while since since you've been back. How does it feel getting back on stage again after all this time?
Do you know, Neil, I was so unsure about auditioning for this part. I really was. And I think it was maybe 2 days before the audition, wasn't it? And I thought, oh, should I? Shouldn't I? It's such a big commitment. I mean, you haven't done it before. You know yourself.
Yeah.
Pre-having kids, how much of a kind of a massive commitment that it can be. And I just really wasn't unsure. Anyway, a couple of people, Sarah Holland, for example, was like, go on, please. Just go for it. So I did. And you know what? I'm so glad that I did, because of just having the best time. And we've met all this, like, these new guys as well, making new friends. And the whole journey so far has been absolutely to die for. It's just been brilliant, hasn't it? Yeah.
Well, Laura's part of the DCU royalty.
I know.
The Corkhills,
The
Corkhills
legacy.
are literally, they, you cut the Corkhills in half, and it says Douglas Choral Union down the middle. So, I mean, you must have been performing with the DCU since you could stand and speak, really.
Yeah, I kind of I can't remember the first show that I did, but it was definitely since a little kid. Well, even before like doing the shows, we'd always be coming along to rehearsals. You know, it's the best way to get some free babysitting is to bring your kids along to the rehearsals. So, but yeah, we've been doing it for years, and it's great. Like, even when we've not been doing shows, we've helped backstage, or even if we're not any sort of involvement, the after show parties are always at our house. So there's always fish finger sandwiches on the go.
Fish finger sandwiches are the best thing about 2 o'clock in the morning, just after a get out. You can always rely on Karen for the fish finger sandwiches.
I look forward to that.
Honestly,
there is always an amazing spread. It is fantastic.
Yards of pasty, just.
And we always end up singing around the piano as well, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. I think the neighbours definitely didn't know what they were getting in for when we started having the parties around ours. But no, they are good. They're good fun.
Brilliant. I mean, most people who've been involved with the DCU will have seen you and your sister growing up around the society, so it's great to see you involved again.
Oh, yeah. It's nice to be back.
So, Chloe, how did you get involved? Have you been involved? I think you're fairly new, aren't you?
I'm brand new.
Brand new. Oh.
To all of
One
us.
of a kind.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, my daughter, a couple of years ago, she started auditioning for shows. So it's been 8 or 9. And she went for DCU, The Sound of Music.
Right, okay, yeah.
So, and, you know, as a chaperone backstage, you start, like, just absorbing it all and finding out how it all works and everything, and getting to know people from DCU. And then when they did Shrek, so Crystal and Grainne's daughter Luena, they shared the role of young Fiona.
Right.
And it was great to meet even more people in the shows and see how it all works. And then just kind of got a bit hooked, really.
Yeah. And then once came along and it's kind of like your bag.
Yes. Well, I've always loved seeing the shows that have been put on at the Gaiety and being always like amazed at the quality. And I do like to support the various companies that put on the shows and really appreciate what a lot of hard work goes into it.
Yes.
So, but Sarah contacted me because my job is Manx Music Development Officer for Culture Vannon. So I've worked with a lot of traditional musicians on a daily basis. So Sarah Holland had approached me and said, oh, can you help us source some traditional musicians who might want to audition? And I said, yeah, that's fine. I tried to push lots of people in that direction, like Jack McLean, because young Jack's a brilliant musician, multi-instrumentalist. And then kind of ended up being in the audition.
Sarah Holland's got a lot to answer for, really.
She's very persuasive.
Listen here, Sarah.
Yeah.
That was not part of the plan.
She has bullied lots of people into lots of shows over the years.
Quite right,
and
too.
we all thank her for it as well.
We're very thankful for that. We
Yes.
are.
She's inspirational.
She
and
is.
David. Well, I knew David from Shrek as well, but both of them.
Yeah.
Because he was brilliant director of
Fabulous.
Shrek. So I knew that there was a really good team behind it. But I didn't actually audition for the part of Grainne's mother. Czech grandmother, Boruska.
Neil, best thing ever.
Yes. Wasn't the part that I had in mind, but that's fine. They could make Grainne look younger, so that's fine.
It's okay, Mama.
You're listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast with Neil Callin.
So actually, looking at the cast list, there's quite a few. Do you know, it's a real mix, isn't it, actually? It's a real mix of...
It's not your kind of usual...
of regulars, newbies, people who've been involved before and haven't been for a long time. So, I mean, it's great to see, because obviously we've got Lorcan and yourself as guy and girl. I'm assuming that we don't get into know anything other than they're just names are guy and girl.
You don't, because it's not important. Like, their story is more important than their backstory. So.
Oh, well, that's good. I like that.
Intriguing.
So Neil King, the Manx podcast's very own Neil King, is Guy's best mate.
That's
Billy?
right, Billy. He's a funny character. Billy,
Yeah.
it's a good part. The show is funny.
Yeah.
You know, so, and some of these characters are kind of larger than life, both the Czech characters and the Irish characters.
Yeah.
And Billy is particularly funny.
And you get them in a pub together and
Absolutely.
And wait till you see Jeff Jepson.
Oh gosh!
Oh my God!
Because he's well known on the band circuit and singer-songwriter, very well established over here. He's a different person in the show, isn't he?
And this is a first for him, right?
Yeah.
Jeff has not done a musical before, and he is fully embracing that.
Singing, dancing, acting.
He's just an absolute star.
It's funny when you get musicians coming into shows, and sometimes once they put them onto that stage without their instrument, they become a very different, very shy kind of person. I've seen it in John Barlow, in David Holland himself, being up on stage, and they're a bit awkward and a bit strange. But
Well,
if they
you know,
can put them in a position where they then have their instrument in their hands and they are rock gods and completely different person again, it's amazing.
And yet you can see when we're doing a choreo night and they're kind of teaching us some dancing.
Yeah.
You've got a couple of these guys. I mean, they're out gigging every weekend. They're hot, hot on what they do. We're all trying to learn these dance moves, and it's so funny.
Yeah.
Not in a
Totally out their comfort zone.
Yeah, it's just like
How can these musicians not feel the beat? Come on, people. There's a beat there.
it just makes it all the more enjoyable, really.
Yeah. Definitely.
So Jeff Jepson, and he's playing, is it Svek?
Svek, yeah.
Marvellous.
Yeah.
We have Jack McLean as Andre.
So yeah, Jack's new to the scene. I know he starred in School of Rock, I
Right.
believe.
At QE2.
At QE2, and that's really kind of his first time treading the boards.
Right.
But he absolutely blew us away at the audition. I think he had everybody rolling around on the floor laughing,
Yeah.
didn't he? And he's a fab accordionist as well. But in this, what's he
Plays guitar in
playing?
this, and-
Yeah. But he's a multi-instrumentalist as
Yeah.
well, and quite young. Is what Jack
He's
say?
19.
19.
He'll be off to uni soon.
Yeah. So.
And Ciara Kilgallen, who's David's wife,
Yes.
she plays Reza
Razor.
and plays the fiddle. And she's great, isn't she?
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And she's had a big break from being on stage because I think she did it when she was young and has loved getting back into it.
Yeah.
So it's a solid cast, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're playing, Chloe, then you're playing Grainne's mum, Boruska. Boruska. And then we've got Chris Mabry's Da.
Oh,
That's me, Da.
Yeah.
do you know? I don't know Chris that well, and we're in the audition, and then we were like turned up to rehearsals. I actually thought he was Irish.
Yeah.
I didn't realise he wasn't Irish because his accent's so good.
Yeah.
But he's really stepped up to the part, hasn't he?
Yes.
And I think he says that, I mean, he plays guitar, but like you said before, picking up new instruments, he was playing mandolin for the first time in
He
this
is,
as well.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was been interesting.
Yeah.
We talked about that a couple of months ago when he came on the episode for in Drama's production of The Witches that they did. That was good. We've got the famous Johnny G as Eamon.
Oh, we've had some fun, haven't we? Some rehearsals. He's showing us all his tricks when he stands up on his bass. Laura at one point knew us up on the bass, I think.
Yeah, honestly, it's not just instruments we're learning. I'm getting all this like I don't even know.
Acrobatics.
Yeah.
Johnny G was in a band that played my wedding reception, and tell you what, it was the most amazing party that we ever had. But at one point, Johnny G was up standing on the bass, playing on the bass, whilst the bass was on top of a table.
Well, I don't want to
that's good
spoil
training.
anything.
That's a trick that could
That's
be coming
a
out. I'm waiting to see him on top of the bar. Oh, that's a point.
So, yeah, that's
I
an
had heard a rumour
interesting
about the bar.
point, actually. So this is a first, right, for the Gaiety.
I believe so, yeah.
A bit of a more immersive, interactive experience, whereby you're going to be able to, if you get the right seats, enjoy a bit of a drink inside the Gaiety, down at the front there. and a bit of a come and hang out with the gang up on stage while the tunes are playing at half time. So we'd like to hope that it's going to be a little bit different, really, from your average, well, I don't want to say average because none of them are average, they're all fabulous.
Yes.
But, you know, a little bit of a different and a more immersive experience for the audience.
That's it. We've got Mary Malloy and Susan Coyne, who they basically run the O'Donnell's Irish trad sessions.
Right.
So they'll be up on stage, won't they? And so it's proper, authentic experience.
Excellent. Unfortunately, I'm on holiday when the show is on, so I'm going to miss it. So I'm not going to be able to get to go and sit up on stage and have a beer.
Right, that's it, I'm leaving.
Well, I don't know about now. So also in the cast then, I think we've nearly got everyone, but Laura, you're playing MC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got another DCU stalwart in Kelly Firth playing the ex-girlfriend. And we have Adrian Cowan playing the bank manager.
Indeed.
So that's not a name I recognise. Is he new as well?
Adrian I met during Annie.
Yeah.
Actually, DCU's production of Annie. That was the first time I came across Adrian, and I believe that he's quite new to the scene as well.
But he's thoroughly hooked now. Yes, he's only been doing the shows for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But he's in Greece.
He's
as
jumping
well.
from one to the next now.
Well-
He's absolutely loving it.
As is
He's
the nature.
discovered-
Yeah, I mean,
this
that's it.
passion.
When you're young and you get that passion, and especially now as well, there are so many shows and you can just jump from show to show to show to show to show. And
Hang on. I'm sure you won't mind me saying this. Adrian's not that young. No offence,
True. He's
Adrian.
older than me. He's older than Boris Scott.
Young in
Okay.
spirit.
Yeah.
Totally.
aren't we all? But yeah, no. Once you first get that bite, there's so many shows to go from. It's so easy just to go from one to the other. I mean,
But that says a lot for the local societies, right? That
Yeah.
they're so welcoming and make it such a fun experience that you want to do it again. That
Yeah.
can only be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, there are
Definitely
plays and
community.
things as well as you can jump from musical to play and back again so very easily. And then there's pantomimes that
And you
start at the
never
end of
used
the
to
year.
be able to do that so much, right?
No, yeah,
back
I mean,
in the day,
yeah.
you were kind of in operatics.
Yeah. You were
And that was it,
Yeah,
you
you
know.
were filming Manx Ops or DCU.
Yeah, and there
no one
wasn't
really
that
switched.
crossover. I
No.
don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. There wasn't that crossover
No.
then that there is now, and I think it's fabulous.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
it's
maybe
a great
one or
thing.
two kind of switched backwards and forwards, but that was kind of like, it was almost frowned upon as well. It was like, ooh,
You had to be
can't
loyal to
switching. Ooh.
society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's so fluid that it's fantastic. You mean you never know what cast you're going to get, and I think in a way it probably makes it a bit more of a difficult job for the committees when they're choosing the shows, because before they could look at their membership and go, right, we've got a strong group of tappers and this and that, so we can do right, we're going to want these guys and these girls, so we can put this show on and let's cast that show and we'll go from there. Whereas now I think they kind of think, well, this one is available. If we do this, we'll probably get the people to come in to do it, and I guess just have to stick the finger in the air and hope for the best, really.
Yeah, totally.
Well, Three Legs Production, who are putting this show on, they're also doing Moana.
Yes.
So Grainne and I's daughters are in that as well. So
Get me out!
2 or 3 times a week, and then on a Sunday, all a Sunday, our kids are doing Moana with, and then of course Sarah and David and Jude and Lisa. They're all
I mean, hats
know,
off to
ever
them.
get home?
Oh gosh, do they ever sleep? I don't think
probably
so.
not.
See, now that you're all hooked into it, it'd be so nice then to get on stage with your kids.
Well, now you see, I mentioned this to Luana. Did you want to come to once? Because there's a part of the daughter. And they kindly offered it to her. And I said, Luana, do you want to play this part? She was like, no. So I don't want to play a part with you. I was like, all right. Okay, thanks very much.
How rude.
So I'm looking forward to the day when Emma and I can both be in a show together again at the same time, and have Amber there as well. And maybe even Daniel, who knows?
And then you won't feel so guilty going out every night for
Yeah.
rehearsals.
Yes.
Yeah, there were tears tonight because I was going out.
Oh.
I do bedtime every other night, but tonight, no. Tears.
Oh.
And that was just Emma. Okay. Tell you what, let's have a quick look at some of the questions that we tend to ask
Sure.
a lot of the time. There's no point asking what the first role is, because for some of you this is it. What would be your dream role? What's the one part that you would absolutely love to play?
I had this conversation recently with somebody, and I can't remember why we were talking about it, but I really want to play the part of Mary Poppins. I just think as a child growing up with Mary Poppins, it was one of those films I watched over and over and over again. And I don't know, it's just a part that I just think would be so fun to play. And I think she would be awesome.
Brilliant. Laura?
I think as cheesy as it is,
Go on.
I would love to play Donna in Mamma Mia. Because who doesn't want to jump around in a pair of dungarees and sing ABBA songs? Like, that's the dream.
And then a big flashy catsuit at the end?
Winner.
Yeah.
Honestly. Dream role, yeah.
Chloe, have you got a dream role?
Well, I'm not so familiar with all the modern day musicals, but I would probably go for a classic one and probably say Nancy from Oliver.
Ooh,
choice.
Yeah,
choice.
because the
That's
songs
a
are
great
beautiful
part.
and
Yeah.
she's such a strong...
She's a good, strong character, yeah. Brilliant. Okay, we've all been in shows over the years with varying budgets, which has meant that the costumes have been better in some shows than others. What are possibly the best and worst costumes that you've ever worn?
Oh my God.
Laura, do you want to go first?
I can answer both parts of this in the same answer.
Do you know, it happens quite a lot.
Yeah, my best and worst costume has got to be Ariel having to wear a pair of Heelys on
Yes.
stage, because the rehearsals were so much fun, wheeling around, no cares, just whatever. But the amount of times you fell over, and every time you sort of wheeled on stage, we had these big puffy skirts that were meant to look like tails, and the whole time you're trying to think of like, oh, I've got lines and I've got a song, and thinking, please don't deck it, please don't roll off the stage into the pit.
Yeah. Then you get to the Gaiety and you add in a rake as well.
Exactly. Don't pay attention and you're just on a very
on.
quick downhill slope. But no, it was good fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many times actually the best and the worst costume was actually the same one. I mean, we had Ian and the guys come on from Shrek, and they were saying that, while the actual costume of Shrek looks amazing and it's brilliant, it is so hot.
Oh, the
and
sweat
horrible.
coming off Ian, I tell you.
Yeah, but Dave Artis said the same thing about Phantom. He said the costume was amazing, but he sat there for 2.5-3 hours in makeup, and he's got this bald cap on, and it doesn't stop you from sweating underneath. It just all kind of catches.
Oh,
yeah,
it
it's
cools it all.
Yeah,
Yum, yum.
Yeah, nervous. Grainne,
Ah, gosh.
we had some interesting costumes in the peel pantaloons, didn't we?
Some interesting costumes for sure, but I'm going to go back even further actually and say from a school production in St John's Primary. I was quite a little dot of a thing as a child, and I was playing the caterpillar in the school production of the Ugly Bug Ball.
Oh,
And anyway, they brought this like colourful jumper along for me to wear for this production, and I was far too big, so they cut the sleeve off the jumper and made me wear the sleeve as a dress. So I was like, and I'm in like year 5 at primary in the sleeve of a jumper, just thinking this is the most horrendous thing ever.
Oh, gosh.
what about the best costume?
Oh gosh. I go, do we have to stay on stage for this, or can I nip over to the screen?
You can nip on the screen.
Oh, thank you. I was in a film playing Benita Winston, and in a film called Risen, which is set in Wales in the valleys, set in the 60s. And I played the part of the boxer, the lead character, Benita Winston, and the costumes that they got for us were all authentic.
Oh, wow.
60s and 70s, well-to-do women's costumes.
Wow.
And they were just the most fabulous thing. I'm really into vintage clothing anyway, so to get the opportunity to wear those clothes was just totally awesome.
Fantastic. Chloe, do you have any costumes?
Well, I haven't been in many shows, but I was just thinking actually back to when I lived in Edinburgh, and I was in a string trio, a piano trio.
Yeah.
Sorry. And we had a lot of corporate gigs, so we'd be on stage and we quite often went in costume for some reason, depending on the theme. And sometimes we worked with some circus artists.
Yeah.
So there's one time when we were dressed up as aliens with a cellist on stilts, and I was playing the keyboard dressed up as an alien. So
Brilliant.
The things you do for your art.
exactly.
Perfect.
Or money.
Podcast.
More importantly,
Yeah.
More important.
Yeah. We've all been there. Right, okay. Last year, just after the second lockdown, we introduced our Spotify musical theatre playlist. The idea was that we would set up the ultimate musical theatre playlist. Neil King and myself, we set it up with 10 songs each. Now, these are songs that we've either performed in a show or have been in shows that we've been in, or just something that really means something special to us. We put 10 in each because we wanted to get it started properly, because no one really wants to listen to a playlist with only 2 songs in it. Then every person who's been on the podcast since then has added their own song. So, which songs would you like to add and why? Who wants to go first, Grainne?
I can. Now, I've chosen this song. There's no real deep, meaningful reason for it. Just, I absolutely love it. And that's El Tango de Roxanne from Moulin Rouge.
Oh, fantastic.
One of my favourite shows I did actually was with the Manx Ops doing West Side Story. And I was a dancer in it, a Puerto Rican dancer. And it was just, I'm not really a dancer myself. I'm not a well-trained dancer, and I started quite late, so I was always kind of too old to do that. But yeah, El Tango de Roxanne, I just think it's just such a wicked fat track, and I would love to be part of something like that, as a dance number. I just think would be fabulous. And when I play that song, I just it's got all the feels, it gives me the goosebumps. I just absolutely love it.
It's one of those songs that pops up as a tango on Strictly every now and again as well. It's always a good one. It's a fantastic song.
It's so passionate. I love it.
Yeah, great song. Laura?
I think it's not really like an on-stage musical. I think it might be coming soon, but I think I would want to put in from Hercules, I Won't Say I'm in Love. Because it's literally my favourite film. Like that, even the whole film itself got me really into doing classics at school, and I loved it. And I think I always just thought Meg was the absolute coolest, because obviously you've got all these Disney princesses that are like, I need to be saved, and it's really nice, and she's just really sarcastic and not like that at all. And I just thought she was my favourite sort of princess / not princess. So yeah, I think that song. And it's such a banger. Every song in that musical is a banger.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Fantastic. Chloe, what's your choice?
Well, my favourite musical currently is The Book of Mormon, and I went to see it a couple of years ago in London and absolutely loved it. And I'm going to go and see it in Liverpool in a couple of weeks' time.
Marvellous.
And taking my husband, because it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I was just laughing all the way through. But I was having a little listen to the soundtrack to see if any of them were appropriate for this playlist, and none of them are. So.
I think the only one that's possibly appropriate is Hello at the very start.
Yeah, that one would be safe. Yes. So I thought, no, I better leave that. So instead, I thought I'd go for the song that we just listened to over and over again in the run up to Shrek, and it is a beautiful song anyway, and I'd certainly love to sing along with it. And that's I Know It's Today from Shrek.
That was one your daughter sang.
That's right.
Fantastic. Right. Okay. Well, I think that brings us to the end, ladies. Thank you very much. So I wish you all the very best with Once. So the Once then is at the Gaiety Theatre then from the 31st of August through to the 3rd of September. Tickets are on sale now from villagaiety.com or by calling 600 555.
Sounds right to me.
Sounds perfect. Right, ladies, we wish you all the very, very, very best.
Oh, Neil,
like I said, unfortunately, I won't be able to get to see it, but I'm sure everyone else will. So all the very best.
Thank you
Thanks
very
so
much.
much.
Speak to you again soon.
You're listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
The Douglas Choral Union held their auditions last weekend and have announced their cast for their 2023 production of Young Frankenstein. So the cast looks fantastic. As Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, we have Tony Eccles. Sue Tumman is playing the role of Elizabeth Benning. Leah Carter is taking on Inga. Frau Blucher will be played by Lisa Kreisky. Igor is David Lyons. The Monster will be played by Jeff Pugh. Inspector Kemp, Mark Doherty. And the Hermit, Mike Bonner. The show will be directed and staged by Scott St. Martin, with Liz Dixon as musical director, and runs at the Gaiety Theatre in February 2023. The Manx Operatic Society are gearing up to get ready for auditions for their 2023 production of Curtains. Character descriptions can be found on their Facebook page, and anyone who wants to register their interest to audition should email manxopsauditions@gmail.com. Auditions are scheduled for the 15th to the 17th of September, with pre-audition sing-throughs on the 24th, 25th and 26th of August, and the 7th, 8th and 14th of September. Don't forget that Centre Stage Productions are staging Grease at the Gaiety from the 24th of September through to the 1st of October, and Stage Door Entertainment are staging Elegies for Angels, Punks and Raging Queens at the Forthcoming Studio Theatre from the 24th to 26th of November. Tickets are on sale now for both shows, and I'm sure we'll catch up with both groups before their shows are on. Well, with that, we bring episode 36 to a close. Thanks once again to Grainne, Chloe and Laura for joining me on the podcast. And we wish them all, and everyone at Three Legs Productions, all the very best for Once, which is directed by David Dawson, and is running at the Gaiety Theatre from the 31st of August to the 3rd of September. If you haven't done so already, make sure to get your tickets now from villagaiety.com or by calling 600 555. Remember to like and follow our social media pages to get notifications of upcoming episodes and events. Don't forget to check out our Spotify playlist by searching for Manx Theatre Podcast, all one word. If you have any events that you'd like us to talk about or promote on a future episode, you can contact us through our social media accounts or by email to manxtheatrepodcast@gmail.com. All that remains to say is thanks for listening, and I hope you join me again next time on the Manx Theatre Podcast. I've been Neil Callin. Goodbye.
The Manx Theatre Podcast, taking a look behind the scenes of Manx Theatre.
And happier than actors alive for me.